Trump is live? No, he's not.
Out of other countries who are working with us is incredible. And I think it's really going to work for the American farmers, for our ranchers, for our fishermen, for our businesses. The scale of companies coming to America just every day, like even this morning we were talking about Whirlpool, and then we were talking about car companies opening. The scale of factories coming to America is mind-boggling.
The content president? Yeah.
Driven by Donald Trump's tariff policy.
He's going in on this a lot.
Got the world coming and finally respecting the United States of America.
President Trump, you said
And by the way, there's never been anything like it. We have at least $7 trillion of new businesses coming in. If you
That's
go
a lot
back
of money.
And look at others, I mean, in years they wouldn't do anything like that. So, and this
It's
is
live?
in
Yeah,
a
it's
matter
live.
of weeks, so it's been pretty amazing.
You said we're talking, so China and the U.S. are talking
Yep.
on tariffs.
Oh, sure.
Do you believe
That's good.
that they won't go higher than 125%? We've heard Chinese officials say that. And like, what happens?
They're not going
if
to.
they do go higher?
Then he's going to go higher, obviously.
Well, at a certain point, I don't want them to go higher because at a certain point, you make it where people don't buy. So I may not want to go higher, or I may not want to even go up to that level. I may want to go to less because, you know, you want people to buy. And at a certain point, people aren't going to buy. And it's actually up to 145% because you have the 20.
You previously said that you would consider reducing tariffs on China to get a tic-tac deal done. Is that still on the table as of now?
Well, we have a deal for TikTok, but it'll be subject to China, so we'll just delay the deal till this thing works out one way or the other. And I think it's a good deal for China. The TikTok deal is very good. TikTok is good for China, and I think they'd like to see us do a deal, especially the deal that we have pretty much done with some of the best companies in the world.
If they agree to sign the deal, would you take that into consideration?
I think it would be
when
something
talking
we
about
discuss
reducing
because
tariffs?
it's a, it's a natural. If we're making a deal, I guess we'll spend 5 minutes to talk about TikTok.
It's crazy how much he
Can you give us a
streams.
sense of how far along these negotiations are with China? Are they in the early stages, or are you inching closer now to actually making a deal on tariffs?
I think that we will make a deal with China. I think we've had some
he
very
does
good
a lot.
talks, but we will have some very good talks remaining. And, you know, I view it, and some people say, oh, rush. I think we have a lot of time. I think we have plenty of time. But
12 more
we have
years.
Very, very good. You saw Japan was here yesterday.
Yeah.
We had Italy today. We had a great conversation with the Prime Minister. We've had very good talks yesterday with Mexico. Talking with everybody. You know, the problem is it's only so many hours in the day. I think we're going to make a deal with China. We're going to make a deal with everybody. And if we don't make a deal, we'll just set a target, and we'll live with that, and it'll be fine too.
How much time do you think you have?
I would think over the next 3 or 4 weeks. I think
That's pretty fast.
maybe the whole thing could be concluded. You have to understand, we're a big, if you think of us as a big, beautiful department store before that business was destroyed by the internet. We're a big, beautiful store, and everybody wants a piece of that store.
Nobody goes to GameStop
China
anymore.
wants it. Japan wants it. Mexico, Canada, they live off it, those two. Without us, they wouldn't have a country. And everybody wants a piece. And at a certain point, if we don't make a deal, we'll just set a limit. We'll set a tariff. We'll set some parameters, and we'll say, come in and shop. They may not like that, and they may find it, or the market may find it too high. You know, more likely the market, but the market may find it too high, or the country may find it too high. Then they'll come back and say, well, we think this is too high, and we'll negotiate, or they're going to say something else. They're going to say, well, let's see what happens.
So something can happen, but it might happen, but who knows if it's going to happen.
To do it. So they can say, well, we don't want it,
Got
so
it.
we're not going to shop there. We're not going
That
to
makes
shop in
sense.
the store of America. We have something that nobody
see
else
that.
has, and that's the American consumer. And I had the most successful, successful 4-year period in the history of this country, and I think we're going to blow it away this time. But there is a little bit of a transition, and we're going to have that little transition, and it's not much of a transition. You know, if you look right now, we're getting 25% on cars, right? We're getting 25% on steel. We're getting 25% on aluminum. We're going to have some other things that we're going to be adding in the not too distant future because we want them to be made here. The medicines, the drugs, pharmaceuticals are going to be done, and computer chips, et cetera, et cetera.
I've heard about those.
And because of that, we have the biggest computer companies in the world coming in from Taiwan and other places, and they're building in Arizona and lots of other places. We're number one in AI by far. We're leading China by a lot, by tremendous amounts. We're going to supply electricity at levels never supplied before. They're going to build their own electric. We're going to let them become a utility, essentially. And it's going to be amazing for the country. They're going to build their own electric plants. We have to double up our electricity to remain number one in AI. We're going to have to double up our electricity.
Nuclear
Take
power.
our whole country. We're going to have to double up our electricity. Think of that.
We got to do nuclear power.
And probably even triple it up. And we're going to let them build their own electric plants with their plant that they're building for the AI or whatever they're doing. Never been done before. We're going to get them quick approvals.
Yeah, or coal.
Going to be very nice. And we're going to get them very fast approvals. And people are investing in this country like they've never invested before. Thank you very much, everybody.
Thank you, friends. Thank you.
So, oh no, he's giving out more hats too? Oh jeez.
Feed our people.
And tell them how large an area we're talking about.
The Pacific is big, but this is a huge area. Again, the U.S. has the biggest EEZ in the Pacific.
Free California.
And
It's an area
and
of 3
it's shut off.
Californias.
So he's signing even more of these orders.
3 Californias. They can't fish there.
3 Californias, what the
How
fuck?
do you fish? They took away your livelihood.
Well, we fish in the high seas, and then we have to pay to fish in other
Now, the
people's
high seas
EEZs.
would mean more danger, right? Is there more danger in the high seas?
Not really. It's just a.
What about the
It's a
pirates
bigger
and like
area,
a kraken?
you know.
So how far do you have to travel to get to fish?
The boat carries a lot of fish, so it goes until it's full, basically. But it's good to have plenty of fishing grounds.
To get out to where you have to go from small.
Like a giant squid.
It can be as close as 4 days, but it's a little bit of a jaunt, yeah. And
That's a little bit.
I love how they just have this random Joe from like, you know, Bill's bait shop in the White House. That's it. They're like, yeah, you, come here. Yeah, we gotta get this sorted out.
Say,
fuel's cheap,
so you'll travel
average
from 4
guy, yeah.
to 7 days
just to get to the fishing ground.
just to get to the area that you're allowed to fish.
To be fair, this
And
is
that
probably
as
his
fertile
best
an
shirt.
area as the area that you're not allowed to fish in? Or?
Well, the Western Pacific in a whole is 80% of the world's tuna comes from the Western Pacific. So U.S. has a huge EEZ there. There's
Yeah,
also
you could. Yeah, Zelensky would probably be pissed watching this. Yeah, it's like, why was he able to? Yeah,
island countries, but it's a big
that's
area.
true.
They took away very fertile grounds.
Very fertile, yeah.
This is so crazy. What would
That's
you like to
crazy.
say? Go ahead. Such
Thank
an
you,
honor
sir.
to do this for these people. This is just crazy. Just tell me, when did this start? When was it? When did
It started back in 2008. But thank you, Mr. President, for this great announcement. And thank you so much for your awesome leadership in giving back to American Samoa what had been taken away from us without even consulting with our leaders and people at that time.
You mean they just one day just took away 3 Californias?
Yes. And so this is such a wonderful gift to American Samoa.
Damn.
And of course, it's also Holy Week beginning today. And so thank you for returning to our
Holy
indigenous
Week.
people this wonderful gift.
Let's talk about
from
Easter.
Our traditional fishing grounds.
It's such
So
an
it's
honor
what?
to do this. You know, normally us have things and it's nice and everything's good. You get more water in the shower head and things like that.
Yeah.
But this is such an honor. What they've done to you people is incredible. It's like, it's so terrible. Well, you have to travel 4 days in a boat to fish.
What?
And it's usually 7 days, I was told before, but
The
4
fuck?
days to 7 days in order to
What
fish.
the
And you were
fuck?
there a long time before we were, right?
Yes. Yes,
Like-
for centuries.
Like I would
centuries.
say, yeah, thousands of years, I was gonna say.
Yep.
Mr. President,
Please.
you have another fishery in the Pacific Ocean. This is the Persane fishery that fishes for canned tuna, and then the fishery in Hawaii fishes for fresh tuna. And so there are 150 vessels.
You know, like, cause the tuna, like a fucking, like a tuna, like the can that you have a tuna in is like really not that big. But then I saw what a tuna fish was and they were really big. Damn. You believe that?
and you're opening up Johnston Island, which is very close to Hawaii.
It's a big
makes
fucking
it a lot
fish.
Easier for them to fish.
Even
Because of
Hawaii.
the
So even Hawaii's.
Well, yes, of course.
Yeah.
So you're helping the entire fleet, and most of our fish are sold on the mainland. We also fish for swordfish, and when we have too many regulations for our swordfish fishery, you get swordfish from Peru, Brazil, and all those other places that don't have the same.
His face. Look at his face whenever she said that.
You get swordfish from Peru, Brazil, and all those other
It's like,
places that don't
jeez.
have the same management measures that we have in the United States. So we are very grateful in Hawaii for this, the fishermen, and that we just, it's fantastic.
So what's the difference? You say canned tuna.
Right, you have two different U.S. fisheries there.
Yeah, but the same tuna.
Different, no, that's a skipjack.
So he's thinking the same thing that I am, because yeah, how the fuck do you have this big fish, but it's in such a small can?
And yellowfin.
Yeah.
And then,
So albacore is canned tuna, right?
right.
I know that from.
You've seen the.
Yeah, it says the thing.
Yeah, so our fishery fishes for the sashimi quality fish, so it's all fresh. It's an ice fishery, and it's been around since what started in the early 1900s. And
Well, it's been around for millions of years.
right, exactly.
Yeah.
Long before us.
Right, exactly.
That's great.
So, you know, that's where you're getting your sashimi and your swordfish from. Most of the swordfish that you eat on the mainland comes from our fishery.
Well, that's
So
good.
they shut down also areas off Maine, you know, the Maine lobster.
Oh, yes,
And I
yes.
think we're going to have to open that one up really quickly too. But we did it, and then after the election, which was totally rigged, they went out and they put it back again.
Right.
And it was like 500 square miles or some ridiculous thing like that. And Canada fishes there, but we're not allowed to. Can you imagine? They restricted it, but Canada fishes there.
That's convenient.
Mr. President, this is such a great honor. You know, today in American Samoa, we're celebrating the 125th Flag Day. It's the first day.
That's a lot of flags.
When the U.S. flag was first raised there. At this very
Wow.
moment, they're celebrating that. So this is a monumental occasion for the people of American Samoa, and we are truly.
So this is a big thing that's
This
going
is
on right
this
now.
because we're a tuna-dependent economy. 99.5% of our exports is tuna.
99.5%?
Yeah.
Well, what about the other half?
And then about 80% of our private employment is related to the tuna industry. So yes, this is a big thing for the
We
terrorists.
are a one industry economy.
Right, what's this going to do in terms, it's so interesting to me, it's so horrible.
Man,
And so stupid.
is this just indigenous people affecting? Well, I mean, they're not really indigenous. I mean, these are people in Hawaii, and Hawaii's a state.
Stupid. We're talking about a massive ocean, and they're
Yeah.
forced to travel 4 to 7 days to go and fish in an area that's not as good and is probably a little more dangerous, the whole thing. So,
It's American
what's this gonna-
Samoa, not
how is this
Hawaii.
gonna affect your business? It's
Okay.
gonna be
Okay, I
many
didn't know
more-
that.
I mean,
I thought
you'll
this
be
was
able to do
Hawaii.
much more business, I would think, right?
Yes, we would think that this will definitely result in more fish deliveries, and more fish deliveries is more economic gains.
both?
for-
Yeah, I didn't
for
even
the
know that.
territory.
Tell us what happens when you say China and other people steal your fish.
Well,
In
How
other
do they
words,
get
you're
'em?
forced to go to areas that are very dangerous.
Well, because of the monuments and overlays of sanctuaries, our fishermen mostly fish on the high seas. And if you look at Global Watch, you will see China, Japan, Korea, and Taiwan all fishing on our very edge of the 200-mile zone. So our fishing, we're in competition with them. And also,
So they
you
get
know,
beat by
their
China.
dumping of their fish on U.S. markets
How the fuck does
lowers
that
the
even
price
happen?
for our fishermen. And that's another
Yeah.
difficult thing that we hope you'll take care of soon.
And what about the stealing of your fish?
Well, you're competing with tuna in a very competitive market, right? So they're camped right outside, like you said, they're camped right outside our EEZ.
And what happens?
And they're taking our fish because it's migratory. Tuna is migratory.
Because we
They
can't
don't-
fish in our zone, the fish goes to whoever.
And they come in in the dead of night, most of
Yes,
them.
they do.
They come and they take the
steal.
fish.
Yeah, that's a common, well-documented problem.
How the fuck does that even happen?
It's so interesting.
Yeah.
Even you have to find this one interesting. So by doing
Even
this,
you.
we're gonna give
I'm
back
assuming
your
he's talking to
lives.
CNN.
And you've been doing this for thousands of years in this area. And then
Absolutely.
along comes
Yeah.
Biden and Obama, and they,
Oh, here we
they
go.
say you can't do it anymore, right?
This is fish, baby fish.
Yeah.
Fish, baby.
So
That's right.
what's the level of and this is a risky question.
Oh my
but
God.
What's the level of popularity of Trump and Samoa versus the Democrats?
77%.
For Trump?
Poll shows for Trump. Yes,
Wow.
that's right.
Wow.
77%.
Well, we go to 90 tomorrow.
Yes. Go up to 100.
Damn.
Maybe 100.
Well, it's an honor. I'm not doing it for that. I'm doing it because it's just an honor.
He's got to prepare for the third
One of
term.
the boats are there. Look how beautiful that is.
Yeah.
They use it for a beautiful cruise that takes 7 days before they can do the first fish. Can you believe it? So now you'll be able to do it like almost immediately, right?
We get much closer, absolutely. So if the fish is there, we can make more trips and deploy more people.
Do you know through sonar, radar, everything, do you know where the fish are? I mean, can you see that?
You get educated guesses, so you get all kinds of different reports, plankton and all kinds of stuff, and they can.
It's a beautiful life. You wouldn't choose any other life, right?
It's a very unique life. I
Yeah.
love what I do. I really do.
I mean, if you could have a life like some beautiful leisurely life in Washington, D.C., mugged when you go to work, but other than that, you love politics. If you could live in the White House, you'd take
Oh, man.
I might take it under consideration.
Yeah.
All right, let's do this, right? That's an honor.
It's good to see him like prioritizing and focusing on like these smaller communities of people. It's actually been really kind of surprising for me to see like smaller minority communities that were so like passionately pro-Trump. I've been like kind of in shock about that. Yeah, on the DEI president.
You've seen that signature, and I don't use
Yeah.
AutoPen. You know,
Well,
like
he
Biden-
doesn't use
Biden uses
AutoPen.
AutoPen. I think we're gonna-
Jesus. Wow. Wow.
Thank you, Mr. President.
He just gives it to her. He's like, yeah, there you
We're
go.
also relating to fisheries, sir. This is an executive order on seafood competitiveness. Currently, we have two basic problems here.
No, this is a problem because we had a Long John Silver's that was near my house, and then they closed it. And like, I don't know where I think there's another Long John Silver's, but it's a lot farther away. I don't even know where it is now.
One is that the American seafood industry is dramatically overregulated. Our fisheries are dramatically overregulated. The other is that we have unfair trade practices.
It
from
did
our
get
foreign
removed.
trading partners relating to the seafood industry. So this executive order
I think it actually got removed under Trump.
Both of those, the Department of Commerce,
Which would have meant that it was Obama's fault.
We're going to work with the fisheries to establish common sense regulatory reforms to
How long will
allow.
that
So that would have been Obama's fault.
We're
That's
expecting
right.
to move as quickly as we can. Yes, sir.
You know what the I mean, you
For sure.
know exactly what we're talking about already, right? It's crazy. The regulation.
It is.
Secretary Lutnick is going to fast track that, I can assure you.
Howard, please, go ahead.
Sure. So you just heard us, the economic zone around Hawaii and Samoa is huge, and it's exclusively ours. So why wouldn't we have our fishermen fish there? I mean, imagine saying
obviously.
our own fishermen, every country in the world, they all fish the 200 miles off their coast, and we were stopping our own fishermen from going off the coast. It's totally the opposite of common sense. That's why President Trump has changed it. Now let's talk about regulation. If you're not even going to let them fish, imagine the regulations that have been written to stop our fishermen from just surviving and thriving. We have the greatest coasts in the world with the greatest fishermen in the world, and we need to let them do their great jobs.
Just get the
raise and
fish.
catch your fish, bring them to our tables, have America have the greatest fish in the world, which we have, and then let them export all these other countries, right?
The
They
bad
stop us
fish.
from exporting.
Yeah.
That's going to be over with your leadership and your trading policies. We're going to open all of these markets, and we're going to let our fishermen thrive and prosper, and we are going to have lower cost
Fish, baby, fish.
more of it, and the freshest fish in the world.
Yep.
And this is just common sense for the United States of America.
So could I ask, it's so interesting. So you take these massive areas of water, And other countries are allowed to fish in them, right?
No.
He's really curious about this whole fish thing. Yeah.
So we're systematically disadvantaging our fishermen by
It's
not
like, so
allowing
what
them
the fuck?
to fish in parts of our exclusive economic zone, while other countries have their own exclusive economic zones, and they're fishing the heck out of those.
So they're totally benefiting.
Now that you're allowing the U.S. fishing fleet to fish, they also serve as observers. And when they see poachers, they report them to
Well,
the
that's good.
authorities. And so they are a big help
If
to
they're
the U.S.
cheating, yeah.
Coast Guard.
Of
And
course.
so it's great for our U.S. food security.
I mean, we should have a trade surplus in fish, and we have a big trade deficit.
It's crazy.
Because of all this, it's just crazy. Nothing
Okay.
familiar.
This is an easy one.
Very easy.
Fish.
Hi, Mom. This is an easy one. This is crazy, huh?
Well, 80% of the seafood in the U.S. is imported.
Can you imagine that? We import seafood, and we have the greatest coast of fishing in the
Okay,
world.
so in Maine, they do something similar.
Yeah.
I think it's like 500 miles or something, some crazy thing. And Canada goes and they fish there, other people fish there, Europe fishes there. The Maine lobster. You can't get Maine lobsters because Maine's forced to go for days out to some other area that's not as good. We have to free that up too.
We'll have that on your desk next week, I promise.
The Maine lobster, right?
Yeah.
It's incredible.
You did it last
Think of it.
time, and they undid.
So there's going to be a specific executive order just for lobsters.
Fishes there.
Biden undid
No, we're
it.
not allowed to, yeah. I did it last time.
Well, there it is.
And they undid it, that's why we have to stay.
Free the
president
lobster.
for a long
That's
time.
right. Wait, what was that?
Canada fishes there.
Biden undid
No, we're
it.
not allowed to, yeah. I did it last time in Maine, and they undid it, that's why we have to stay president for a long time. Thank you, everybody, what an honor. It's a
Wow.
great honor, thank you, sir.
Thank you, Mr. President.
Thank you, Mr. President. Thank you.
Well, I think that's pretty much about it.
Thank you very much.
Yeah, I think that's a good thing. I mean, I feel like this seems like it's smart. Yeah, I mean, great. W, right? I mean, more fish, more Long John Silvers, better fish. Yeah, I think that's a great thing. Absolutely happy.